Today is a great, wonderful, amazing day. Do you know why? I'll tell you why. Because it's another Germany day. 17 weird places they speak German. Without further ado, let's get into this reaction. Let's go.
Which country do you think this welcome sign is in? And where on earth is the Germany of the Caribbean? Well, I found a whole lot of places in the world.
Wait, what? Germany of the Caribbean? My family from the Caribbean. Interesting.
Where fascinating German communities exist and some very curious stories. But first, the fatherland.
Ich heiße Trixie und ich wohne in der Nähe von Hamburg. Ich bin in einer kleinen Stadt nahe Hannover aufgewachsen und dann immer mehr in den Norden gewandert.
Ich arbeite als Schulleiter.
Ich bügle als Deutschlehrer.
Ich arbeite als Lehrer.
Just because it's Germany doesn't mean there isn't some interesting dialect stuff going on. During Napoleon's time, the Hunsrück region was briefly part of France, and this German dialect has a few words that sound rather French. Yeah, that last one doesn't, but I can explain. Simple story. In 1800s Hunsrück, they didn't really know much about bananas yet, and so they called it a yellow fat bean. A century later, they figured that bananas must come from Greece, and so they gave it a Greek name, and I guess it stuck. Even today, there are many ways to speak German in Germany, but German is actually an official language in 6 countries: Germany, Austria, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. And there are German-speaking populations in all of these countries too. Basically, Europe loves German. In Belgium, only 1% of the people speak German, and they are mostly in this tiny area of Wallonia. It used to belong to Germany until World War I came along.
Äpfel, Äpfel, lecker, lecker, leben, leben.
Du hast aber so ein schönes Lächeln. Das geht auch wie die Zunge.
Austrian German mostly has standard German grammar, but a unique vocabulary and lots of different dialects. Check out these 2 totally different words for plum.
Mein Name ist Desiree Dietlin, ich komme aus Basel-Land, aus Asch in der Schweiz. Und meine Muttersprache ist Schweizerdeutsch, wie ihr hört, Baseldeutsch.
This is Swiss German. Do you think it sounds pretty? Soft around the edges, I'd say. Although I believe the Swiss German dialect is pretty hard to understand, even for other Germans.
Yeah, their German doesn't sound as harsh. It sounds very soft and not harsh, but I quite like the harsh German, the way you guys speak. But her sound is very soft. Nice.
Per il mangiare fa parte facile, dici ligerz. Ligerz.
Okay.
Cosa fai, was machst du, was tust?
Was alle.
Oh, was machst du? Okay.
Che sarebbe was tust tu, però da noi si dice, non si dice was machst du, si dice was tust. Dove vai, wohin gehst du, wo gehst du hin?
Wow.
Remember this welcome sign I showed you earlier? If you
He sounds a little bit French or Italian. French, probably.
guessed that it was from Italy, well, you got it right.
I got it right. Italian, French or Italian.
A village called Isim in the Aosta Valley. People here speak Walser German, which is an outlying dialect of Alemannic German that's actually considered to be a separate language. Check this out.
Mein Alten hat ist wann in Subelan und du alten Mama ist wann Ishmei. Trying to read whatever type of German that is. My grandfather came from Gabi. My grandmother is from
So what's the deal? Well, their ancestors migrated here in medieval times, and you can see how very isolated these valleys are. It's the perfect place to keep an archaic dialect alive. But I'm excited to take you out of Europe now. Are you ready? By the way, I have lots more.
This is what I watched the video for. I want to see which countries around the world speak German and they're not German. Let's find out.
More of these language stories I want to share with you. So if you're enjoying this so far, click these little buttons around the screen and more will follow.
Africa.
Wir stehen jetzt vor dem Farmhaus. Können Sie etwas über die Geschichte erzählen?
Ja, das Haus ist von meinen Urgroßeltern erbaut, die 1890 aus Deutschland ausgewandert sind.
German is big in Namibia. So many of the street names and building names are in German, and many Germans live in pretty colonial towns like these. Also, have you seen the mind-blowing desertscapes? Namibia used to be a colony of the German Empire, and up to 30...
I didn't know Namibia was a colony. that makes sense.
1,000 Namibians still speak German as a native tongue. It used to be a co-official language, but it's now a national language along with English, Afrikaans, and several indigenous languages.
Ich heiße Wilhelmina. Ich bin 8 Jahre alt.
So cute. Well, since Germans have been here for so long, it's really not surprising that indigenous locals also know German phrases.
Und was für mich schwierig war die Aussprache. Die Aussprache muss immer gut sein. Zum Beispiel, ich habe gesagt, wie heißt das? Ich heiße.
German people love South Africa, and there are around 12,000 living there who speak German as a first language. Many are expats just living it up in South Africa. I mean, they do get to have all of this. There are also many fourth generation.
South Africa's beautiful. I'd love to visit South Africa. Never been. I know obviously they speak Dutch, but I didn't know there was a lot of Germans.
Immigrants. What's interesting is a lot of the original Germans in South Africa were not immigrants, but came on work contracts to the Dutch East India Company in the Cape, and later the Natal Cotton Company. When the cotton failed, they simply stayed and made a new life. One of the biggest German communities live in and around a little Natal town called Wartburg, which was named after a castle in Germany. You know that one where Martin Luther translated the Bible into German? Of course you know that. Anyway, pretty awesome to hear indigenous South Africans speaking German. Now,
South America.
Well, the journey of many of these immigrants begins in some of the most unexpected of places, and some of the routes and paths they took were so bizarre, they've piqued the intrigue of many around the world.
Yo soy de Austria. Nací en Austria. Con madre alemana de Hamburgo, que queda bastante lejos.
There's a secret German village in Argentina, La Cumbrecita.
Wow.
It's meticulously
I know with South America, I learned a lot about this. I watched some documentary, I think it was about the war, and a lot of German people that were involved with the Nazi party actually went to South America to live after the war. So, yeah. And their descendants still live there now. Obviously, the descendants have nothing to do with their forefathers, and that's what they did. But, yeah, they started communities and families in South America to outrun, after the war and the fall of the Nazis. So...
recreated Swiss German village with quite a story. The original pioneers of this town migrated from Berlin to Buenos Aires in the 1930s. They built Bavarian-esque cottages and alpine chalets. They sold plots to friends, and there was one rule: you have to build only Swiss German style. They even planted trees that would make it look like Bavaria. Well, today about 1,500 people still live there, but not just there, because 8% of Argentinians say they have German ancestry, and that's more than 3 million Argentinians, even if only 500,000 of them actually speak the language. But there's one Latin American country with even more German speakers.
Viele kommen in Trachten. Für die Blumenauer ist es eine Tradition und für die Besucher ein Spaß.
Yeah, Brazil's where I heard they escaped and started communities.
Fun fact, Oktoberfest in Santa Catarina is considered to be the biggest German festival in the Americas and the second biggest Oktoberfest celebration in the world. Who knew? Anyway, Brazilian German is strongly influenced by Portuguese and to a lesser extent by Italian and indigenous languages, and there are about 3 million who do actually speak German at home, not just in their dreams.
I think I know what she means, as I see everywhere around me a world I'd never expected to find in the land of sun, sea and samba.
Wie geht's, Dietmar? Gut. Gut? Ja, ja. Geradeaus. Geradeaus.
In Espiritu Santo, they speak a dialect called East Pomeranian, and the main variety of German.
Sorry, guys. I've just...
in Brazil has this long name that I just cannot pronounce, so don't judge. I'm still getting to German.
Der Wagen steht schon vor der Tür, mit Weib und Kind marschieren wir.
Here's an interesting story for you. Ever heard of Volga Germans? Well, Volga Germans are German Russians, and between the 1870s and 1910s, about 320,000 of them came to Colorado from the Russian steppes of the Volga River. They'd been invited to Russia by Catherine the Great to establish 104 German villages, but later Russia revoked many of their privileges, so off they went to South America instead. Here's a little language sample for you to check out.
So mer vola moholgen in the... Okay, no, I can't read it. I can't read the German one either, so... But there's a difference. Clearly. The words look different. Those are similar.
Alemanes siempre salen por la cabeza en primer lugar del mundo. Bueno, según los expertos en esto, ¿verdad? Dicen que los alemanes tienen la mayor parte del juicio del mundo.
Do you know what? It's funny he's saying that, because I was on Airbnb, Booking.com, booking a hotel, and there was there were reviews from people around the world that had stayed at this hotel. There were people from England, America, you name it. And I was scrolling down, I was reading these reviews, and I saw a review from a German person, and my instant thought was, I'm reading this review because I know it's going to be concise and efficient, and it's going to tell me exactly what this place is like, what's good and what's bad, and it's not going to mince the words. The words are going to be straight to the point. So when he says you guys have the best judgment, I trust that from a German. Yeah, I do.
Nueva Germania is a district of San Pedro department in Paraguay, not too far from the capital Asunción. Strange story, there was once a German effort to create an Aryan colony. It was founded as a German settlement in 1887 by the brother-in-law of the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. The plan was a failure, thank goodness, and many of its founders abandoned the colony, but not all of them. And today, most of the population in the area still speak a mixture of German and Guarani. Imagine that. Not my strangest story of the day, mind you. Wait till we go down under.
Venezuela.
In 1843, a group of 390 immigrants from Germany's Black Forest arrived in another forest in Venezuela. They were scientists, naturalists, writers, and painters, and they founded a village called Colonia Tovar. It was forbidden to marry outside the colony, but eventually the Misty Mountains worked their magic. Anyway, today it's called the Germany of the Caribbean, and they're pretty famous for hosting their own version of Oktoberfest. But the dancing does not stop there.
Wait, Germany of the Caribbean? Is Venezuela classed as the Caribbean? I thought Venezuela was just South America. Huh? Guess so. Canada.
You probably know that English and French are official languages of Canada, but did you know that the city of Kitchener in Ontario was once named Berlin? Yep, German heritage has been concentrated there for a long time, and it's a large and vibrant community. If you love Oktoberfest, this is a good place to be. It's the biggest Oktoberfest in North America. I am not forgetting British Columbia, huge German community there too. Those of you from the US, I really want to hear if you've ever encountered these next two types of Germans. So German immigrants in the Midwest came from different parts of Europe and Russia and settled in communities in Missouri, Kansas, and one very well-known community in Bismarck, North Dakota. Actually, the Dakotas are pretty interesting. Apparently, they're the only state where German is the most common language spoken at home after English. But two special varieties got my attention.
Nu haben sie als Jugendlich gespielt bis 9:30, wenn unsere Schule noch gestartet hat. Dann haben wir als die Bell gerungen. Es war ein stupid Schulhaus. Und wir haben alle 8 Grades gehabt. Es waren 2 von uns Teachers. Ich hätte...
People in Pennsylvania know...
That sounds very weird, doesn't it? It sounds that I could clearly hear a strong dialect.
In Pennsylvania Dutch, don't just say hello. They'll say wie bist du heute, which means how are you doing today? And you have to respond with something snappy. I usually say something like, ich bin ganz gut, ich bin so ziemlich. Ganz gut means very good or completely good. But there are a lot of different types of phrases that people use on a regular basis. Some people say, good morning, gute Maria, good afternoon is gute Namidog, and good evening is guten Abend.
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Wow.
Well, it's an American minority language, and not Dutch at all, but a German dialect. Dutch is actually supposed to be Deutsch, and Deutsch doesn't mean Dutch, it means German. I know, one of those things obviously designed to make us crazy. Anyway, the community was formed by German immigrants and is still alive and well on the East Coast.
All the Amish people do know the Pennsylvania Dutch. There's some states have a very different accent and they'll use different words, but we can still understand each other. It's just some people say frock and some people say rock. That's the name for dress.
At least in the Amish communities.
For sure. Vår großvater der ist gekommen ungefähr 1866, glaube ich.
So, mein Mann und ich, wir haben immer draußen auf der Ranch gewohnt. Mein Mann hat für andere Leute gearbeitet, wo größere Stücken Land hatten. Und so haben wir Schaf und Ziehen und Vieh gezogen. Und wir haben immer noch Rambly, Schaf, die was man scheren tut.
Isn't Texas supposed to be all cowboys and cattle? Well, maybe, but Fredericksburg is the home of Texas.
A German in a Texan accent. That is blowing my mind. What?
German, which is more like 1800s German with a Texan twang. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool too. And there's a reason why German in Texas never disappeared. The original German settlers refused to learn English, so they kept their German dialect pure, well, for as long as you can do that in Texas. Anyway, today, Texas has one of the largest German communities in the southern US. Okay, ready to meet the most free-spirited German out there? You chose a good spot.
Mexico? There's Germans in Mexico? What? There's Germans in Mexico. What? That'll make it... Okay.
Ik woon in Mexico, in Chihuahua, een beetje dorpen. En wat ik schaffen doe, is ik schaf bij een... ik weet niet hoe we dat plottig moet zeggen, maar het is een hotel van cabins, waar we dan uitdraaien. En dat zijn dan zinnen waar mensen kunnen voor een lange tijd blijven, of best van stukje blijven, zodat ze wat schaffen doen. En ik doe van de mensen willen nemen.
What was that? Let's see. Mexico has around 200,000 standard German speakers, and how's this for numbers? There are over 3,000 German language schools in Mexico, second only to Brazil. These campuses in particular are the biggest German language schools in all the Americas. But the young lady in this video isn't exactly speaking standard German. She's one of thousands of German Mennonites living in Latin America. Mennonites are a religious group who reject modern technology and live off the land. So
there seems to be a lot of Germans that have went to America and, started these little communities like the Amish and Mennonites. Wonder why? What is that about?
This interesting dialect is a variety of Low German, although the kids do study standard German in school.
The historic town of Handorf has been passionately preserved by the locals. Its German heritage can be seen in the many original buildings. The German culture spills onto the streets.
Freut mich, ja?
Ja, wir haben die Wurzel ausgesoffen.
Immer gibt's was Neues.
It's nearly hair raising up their backspine, to meet them that can talk with you.
There's a dialect in the Adelaide Hills called Barossa German that was once a hotbed of German language. A lot of immigrants started coming to Australia from 1838, like the 38 Lutheran families escaping religious persecution. They started a little village called Handorf, famous place now, the oldest surviving German settlement in Australia. Anyway, this guy was quite the maverick. He arrived in 1855, aged 27, got married and moved into a tree. You heard me. The happy couple started their family of 16 children and named their first 7 sons Johann. I mean, what else are you going to call them? Later, other Germans moved into this area. They started a school and a church.
Sorry, he's talking so fast. Sometimes when people talk for something, I'm like, what? He lived in a tree and named his first 7 sons with the same name. What? I'm confused.
A family of 16 children and named their first 7 sons Johann. I mean, what else are you going to call them? Later, other Germans moved into this area. They started a school and a church, and well, that's all it takes to make a community. And of course, the language gradually took on some Aussie elements. It got the name Barossa Deutsch. There are even Barossa words in Australian vocabulary. Heard of these? Anyway, the Herbigs now have over 800 descendants, and Australia now has 75,600 Herbigs.
Oh, that's what you call a butcher.
Anyway, the Herbigs now have over 800 descendants, and Australia now has 75,600 German speakers. Precisely,
Wow.
I'll have you know, and
Yeah.
over 1 million with German ancestry. Guys, don't be mad at me if I've missed your German dialect. I'm leaving space for you to tell us about it. Let us know in the comments if I've missed anything here. So now that we know where the world's German communities are, surely we should ask, where did the German language come from in the first place? Don't know? Lucky you. You can watch that fascinating story right here.
There's nothing there, mate. Sorry, he forgot to put it up there. Wow, he didn't. You know what he didn't mention? He didn't mention Britain, which probably, arguably, I would say Britain probably has the most people with German ancestry in the world. Period. Full stop. I believe Britain has the most people with German ancestry in the world. Because I believe that literally maybe every single British person has some sort of German ancestry. I would even extend that to the diaspora, so the nations that were colonized, like a lot of the Caribbean, English, British nations, they also intermarried and things happened, and there were a lot of mixed race babies. Even a lot of those, even myself, I have a percentage of European DNA from that time in the 18th century or whatever it was. So I feel like German people, DNA is quite spread out everywhere. So yeah, and especially white people in England definitely have German ancestry. I mean, our royal family have German ancestry. So yeah, you guys are everywhere. Good for you. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Until the next one, I'll see you very soon.